Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. So we're doing something a little differently today. I am here with my friend Brian, as usual, talking about the Star Wars movies. Hello, Brian.
Hello, Liam.
And today we are talking about the Phantom Menace. The reason I'm saying we're not recording just on video is I'm too lazy right now. I'm a little tired after watching a movie. Honestly, I don't even think it's worth the effort to put up tripod and set up a video just to talk about this, because I think we agree there's not really much to talk about.
Yeah, I feel like it's a universal opinion on this movie.
Yeah, it really is. Well, that was it. Thank you so much for joining us
today,
today, guys. There's so much. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, support Bucha. We're good. Oh my gosh, it's so interesting though. But like this was one of those things where when I was going back on the films when I first saw this, there was a lot to take notes on. There was a lot to think about. Because I was like, I don't know. I was in this understanding like everybody hated the prequels, but I was like, why? Because I grew up with the prequels growing up at home. You know, like Revenge of the Sith made me cry when I was younger. So it was like, oh, it made me cry. But I mean, to be fair, like the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans made me cry too. It was like I was an emotional kid, so I don't know. I hadn't watched these since I was a kid, as long with the rest of Star Wars films, and I was shocked when I saw this one be like, oh my god, this really is bad.
It's bad. No, I was 9 when it came out, and I remember just loving it. And like I'm 30 now, and I remember sitting back like a couple years ago rewatching it, and just like, oh wow, like. Was I a dumb kid? Oh no.
Well, I thought it was the same thing, because when I was told that my parents when I was a kid, I think I told you this story, was I was a little kid, a baby, when we were in the Phantom Menace, and I was squirming and wriggling around. My dad had to take me out of the film. So I think, was I like a savior as a kid? Did I protect people from this?
Get out.
I don't know. Because I mean, you grew up with it. Like you were in the time of when this movie came out.
Yeah, like
you probably know
it came
the
out.
environment.
I remember like very vividly it coming out. I remember going to the theater to see it. It was I was very much of the demographic target audience for it. Mm-hmm. George Lucas always wanted Star Wars movies to be for kids, and it's crazy. It's like I remember watching it as a kid, and it's like I've already seen Star Wars a bunch of times and everything, so I was like super excited about it. There's R2. It's cool. The whole prequel concept was weird because I remember like things like I loved the Stormtroopers so much, so I was sad there was no Stormtroopers. But I was, like I mentioned earlier, might have been a dumb kid because I didn't quite understand why there weren't Stormtroopers. Why were these annoying droids here? Mm-hmm. And I remember like we were falling in love with characters like Qui-Gon Jinn and obviously Darth Maul, one of the coolest characters in Star Wars. Yeah. But the entire premise of the movie itself, with the Trade Federation and all that, I had no idea what they were talking about. The whole Senate and the vote of non-confidence. Man, as a 9-year-old, I had no idea what they were talking about.
Yeah, no, it's very much. We were just watching it now, and I mean, there's nothing for a kid to really pull and focus on when it comes to like what could they possibly understand? What about? I think it was like. Mom, Dad, what's sovereignty? What's a vote of non-confidence? What are those words? There's nothing in that whole section about like when they go to the freaking Senate. None of that is something that a kid could pick up on.
No, why do we care about who the Chancellor is, for example, as a child?
Yeah, exactly. And look, I'm not saying that kids at a very young age can really comprehend like the moral complexities of like the original Star Wars films, but they are at least able to take into the information that Luke, being the son of Darth Vader, makes absolutely no sense in the good way of like that can't happen.
But Luke's a good guy.
Yeah, he's the good guy, and it's like but the film articulates well enough. Like we talked about this, Darth Vader is seen killing a bunch of people. Luke is seen trying to like, struggling between the idea of what's good and what's bad. And he doesn't want to go down one of those paths. So like the kids can obviously see that, but they can't understand anything that goes on.
No, there was it was cool like seeing like not the early stages, but like the stages of the Jedi when they were a group of people. They had the council. They weren't just these scavengers and the people who survived the Great Purge that will talk about in episode 3. So it's cool to be able to see, like, you know, there was a thriving group. But it was just... there wasn't enough substance to it to keep you interested. It wasn't written well enough as a Star Wars movie. If you want to write a space drama, you nailed it. But man, we're talking Star Wars here.
Yeah, I mean, even in regards to the concept of like with the Jedi Council, I think my biggest problem with it, I was trying to think of like, there's too many power groups, there's too many of this. I honestly just think it's as simple as like, there's nothing in this film that separates the Jedi from the Senate. There's nothing. They just sit. They all sit. The only thing is there's less movement in their chairs. Like,
well, Padme makes the comment that, you know, the Senate takes longer, like takes a long time to decide anything than the courts do. But it's like, well, apparently in this, the Jedi take the longest time to make any sort of decision. How many meetings do we have to sit down to figure out, okay, I guess we can train Anakin?
Yeah, but that's another thing is that they say, oh, I guess one side takes longer, but they both take the exact same amount of time when it comes to making certain decisions. Like they said with, they made Senator Palpatine, you know, the Chancellor, like within I'd say a couple hours, maybe a day, I don't know. But then
they
just immediately did the same thing with Anakin. Yeah, it's like Obi-Wan, we agree that you can train Anakin. It's like, there's no difference between the groups, so that you have no understanding of the different power levels and stuff, and the thing that really bothers me about this is that the only way you can really, I think, defend a lot of the stuff in this film is by pulling from the lore and pulling from what we know from the original trilogy. Like, I just remember rewatching the final climax in this movie when we're seeing Obi-Wan fight Darth Maul after Qui-Gon has been struck down. I know I want to talk a few more detailed stuff, but just the fact that we're seeing him fight angrily, we have not really been established in this film about the danger of anger. We know that from the original trilogy, and sure, you can say it's a sequel, but if this is a prequel, then it should establish kind of the rules, and we should have an understanding.
You should understand why him striking out of anger, what that could do,
and then why it's so important to the organization that we see. Why like there's a fully functioning, you know, Jedi Council, like what that signifies for them. Like the idea that anger is something so awful. We see that they mention that with Anakin, but you know, with Obi-Wan, it's like Obi-Wan killed somebody, and it's like, you know, we just saw that you struck that guy down in anger, and we don't think you're capable to train this kid. No, there's none of that.
No, but instead they let him train it. They told his teacher, who has been his master, who's been a master for how long, who is, in my opinion, one of the best Jedis. He should be the poster boy of what a Jedi is. He took initiative over the council because he knew it was the correct thing to do. Yet they tell him, no, you cannot, no, Qui-Gon, you cannot train the boy. But he gets taken down in battle, so he's obviously not, you know, the alpha male that they thought he was. Okay, I guess you're the master. Okay, yeah, take the problematic kid. You can train him. Like, to me, that makes no sense.
Yeah. I mean, here's my big question for you then, is like, aside from the idea of like him taking the initiative, what is it that makes him the poster Jedi for you?
Like, for me, it was just like, he was just such a, first, he was a very believable character. But everything he did out of care and concern. From start to finish. He did everything because that was what he felt was right. What he felt was the noble thing to do. And then as soon as he comes across this boy, he's trying to not only free him, but he's also trying to free his mother, who is, first off, a pointless character, but he's going the extra mile to do that. He drops everything at the end on Tatooine when he loads up their ship with all the parts they need. He goes back to free the boy. An extra step he doesn't need to do. As soon as Darth Maul shows up, he pushes the boy out of the way, like makes him go to the ship. He takes him on a one-on-one, the safety of the boy, because he knows he can realize, he can see in him that he is the one the prophets have talked about. Yet the council won't even hear it, won't listen to it, but he won't listen to them. He will do what he knows is right. And when Obi-Wan makes a comment of, you defy the council again, if you would just listen to them, you'd be on the council. To him, it's not about the titles. It's about doing the proper, the correct, and the right.
Yeah,
and so for me, that's what I think a Jedi truly should be striving towards.
Yeah, that makes sense. Qui-Gon is I don't know. I think I've what bothers me a lot when it comes to any, I don't know, pulling things from this movie. It's really difficult for myself just because I just don't care enough when I'm watching this film. There's so many things in it that I just think on a scripted level in terms of events. I think we talked about it. It's mostly just showing off technology. It's mostly showing off like where we've come since, Jurassic Park.
Oh, 100%. Like we kept for those who were not in viewing attendance, we kept checking the time of the movie, and the first 25 minutes we were in, what was it, 5 different settings.
18 minutes.
Yeah.
We had basically gone from the ship to
a planet core.
landing. Yeah, the landing onto another ship, onto the land, and then just going to Naboo, the actual city that's on Naboo, and then going underwater. There's no solid footing.
And then we were going into the planet core,
yeah,
even deeper than underwater.
Yes. And
it was everything that was done there was no substance added to the storyline. It was just, look at this technology that we have here at Lucasfilm.
Yes.
We're so cool. Like he said, there's always a bigger fish. Because they put in how many fish?
Yes.
For no reason.
There's 4 of them. Yeah, there was 4 of them that I counted in terms of like the big monumental showpiece fish, I guess.
Yeah, it's just unneeded.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like I know some people, like a lot of people I've heard defend the prequels and defend the Phantom Menace. I tried having a conversation with some guys recently, like just yesterday, seeing what do you guys feel about the prequels, because I want to know if people defend it, and they mostly say, it's pretty boring, it's not really great, it's not a great movie. I like the looks of the action stuff, and I like the big things that happen. I like the fights and stuff. But I also thought about it because Phantom Menace does open abruptly with action, but so does A New Hope. However, A New Hope's action is kind of enticing you in towards the story, and it's kind of like it's kind of the prologue to the story to begin.
It's action with a purpose.
Yeah, it's like you're like, oh my gosh, it's the crazy world, but it's also like, I don't know, a separation of worlds or something, because once you go into there's like crazy fighting and you see like organized groups and you see them marching with stormtroopers, and then after that the droids go onto this desert planet where there's like nothing happening, and later we see that there's like Imperial control, and we know what that means because of that action scene that we just saw. But the action that we just saw kind of in the first in this film is like the droids are incompetent. They can be easily destroyed. There's a couple specialty types. So it's like, okay, the droids can be easily dealt with. And then later we just see them immediately take over the city. So it's like, okay, so are the droids weak or are they capable?
Is it up to the programmer? Like, who knows?
Yes.
Like,
but it's very much this concept of like the opening doesn't necessarily give us, none of it gives us a solid foundation to understand.
As soon as you're
introduced
to the stormtrooper, you understand who they are and what they're all about. Mm-hmm. And every single time you encounter a droid, there's something else going on. Like, how can you take over a city that quickly without a shot being fired? You capture the queen, yet the scene when they're trying to, at the beginning, when they're trying to leave Naboo, like when Qui-Gon's taking them all away on the shiny ship, and he goes up to the commander and he's like, we're taking them to Coruscant. But where are you taking them? To Coruscant. Why you have to tell them twice? You can take over a city how quick? You can't comprehend a city?
Yeah. And it's like, even the droid doesn't even say it in a different way because it's a droid. It's like, where are you taking them? It could be like, wait, where are you taking them? To Coruscant. Coruscant. That doesn't compute. Wait, you're under arrest. Like, that could have been, but it's a droid, so it's got to talk monotone, so there's no inflection of language or anything. And I just think about it, because, like, yeah, in terms of, like, the fact that there's, like, no foundation, the only characters we have any foundation worth are 2 characters I do not like looking at. One is the Viceroy characters, because we get their fears and what they want and everything, but I can't look at them. Because they're so painful to watch and listen to.
And it's so racist.
It's awful. And I was like, wait, there's racism in the prequels? What are you talking about? A couple minutes in, I'm like, oh my god, I can't look at it. And then, but it's like, I get their characters. They're kind of characters, I guess. And then the next one is Jar Jar, and he's really, up until this point, like with Obi-Wan, you kind of get an intro to him. But then they abandon him basically for the film. Like, he doesn't do anything. Qui-Gon, we kind of get intro to him, and we get a little progression, but...
I wish there was more depth to Qui-Gon. I wish, this is me as a personal fan, like, I feel like I understand him very well. But I wish that they would have dove into him more as a character.
Yeah, we don't really get to his goals until they go back to the Jedi Council with Anakin. He's like, we got to bring this kid back to the Council. That's kind of where his goals are kind of established.
Well, it's like, you did something wrong with, I don't know if it was with your casting, I don't know if it was with your script, or what it was. I know it's the wardrobe's fault to begin with, because the wardrobe in this movie was terrible. Oh, God, it was awful. But the fact that Watto is one of your strongest characters is ridiculous. He's a junk seller and a gambler.
Yeah.
Why is he a more believable, more better, stronger of a character than Yoda? Yeah. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah, and
Yoda was enraging in this movie.
He's awful. And here's there's oh my God, you're touching on a lot with this, so I want to follow it, because you bring up two good points. And here's the thing, Watto shouldn't be enraging the concept that he is good, because nobody should stand out as being better than anybody else. It should work together as a unit, which is what, again, original trilogies, they did that really well. Before I watched this version, I saw the version of the Phantom Menace with Yoda as a puppet. Now, I've heard a lot of comments, people say, oh, that character Yoda looks terrible and he looks awful, they should have used the original. Well, the original puppet burned, right?
Yeah.
It got destroyed, so they had to remake one. And as far as I'm concerned, that looks like a younger, less good version of Yoda. But
exactly.
It looks like a younger...
You need to make him look younger than when you meet him on
That's
Dagobah.
A tanner version of Yoda who's like sitting in the croissant sun. Yeah, of course. He's like suntanning the entire time. But in this one, he's even worse, because it's like, I mean, I can easily say it. His eyes don't open. He just looks scowly and like mad, and they're trying to lay over the quick movements.
He just reminds me of a grumpy old man that doesn't want to be there the entire time.
Yeah, it's like, again, they're just trying to layer over top, and it's so. Oh, I do hate it. It's frustrating.
No, it's sad how they took such an amazing character, what they did with him. It makes no sense why he wasn't a puppet the whole time. He's on this chair almost the entire movie that is perfectly situated for puppeteers to work with him. But it's 1999. We got technology now for movies.
Just the technology in this looks awful. It's just all of it. I would say the only thing that looked good was the fish.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even that it's an older movie now. It's just that it was too much.
Yeah, there's just an abundance of it.
The thing that was amazing about the original Star Wars was that everything was made. They made it all. Like, it's great, like, in like the new trilogies that they really tried to get back to that and drop a lot of like the CGI and everything. But it's like
yeah, but still, it's
we were not at those trilogies.
No, but that's a good point. It's like the Gungan fight. I wonder, why don't I like that Gungan fight as much as I like?
Because you're watching a blue screen.
You're watching there's nothing there. It's that easy. The pilot stuff is, again, just there's a lot of stuff happening. There's a lot blowing up, but I don't know any of those pilots.
Nope.
There's no Wedge. There's no Porkins. There's no distinct person.
There's no memorable characters.
There's woman pilot, and that's the only thing I was like, "Yay, we got woman pilot finally!" But and then with the whole, oh my God, I can't you have the whole Padme stuff and the Queen stuff, and and we mentioned this. A bad performance does not make somebody a bad person. And Padme and Natalie Portman has gotten a lot of crap from this performance. It was interesting because you told me, like, you mentioned that Keira Knightley played.
Yeah, Keira Knightley played like her decoy. So
I guess I can just say this: I didn't realize, because I thought they were both the same monotone person, so they really worked on each other in a really good way. But it's what I mentioned in A New Hope when Leia is putting on that British accent. It is a put on. It's like she's having this little, regal show or something. And it works, though, because it's a little bit... It's over the top, but it's also a little bit muted at the same time. It's still organic to her own voice. But this is just so disinterested. Like, I'm wealthy and rich, and I don't care what I would do.
It's all just so deadpan. There's no emotion to it.
My people are dying.
My people are dying.
My people are dying.
I'm sorry, can you stand closer with the cue card? I can't quite read it.
Yes.
Ugh, it's just brutal. But, like, there's a lot of things to hate about this movie. But, like, honestly... Okay, before we move on from that, though...
Yes.
When it comes to hating this movie, I'm just going to throw the pod races right in there. 15 unnecessary minutes of pod racing. Ugh. But like, I will give it this, hands down. If you take out the Gungan fight in it, my favorite lightsaber battle in the entire trilogy, in the entire series. Like, I love that lightsaber battle. Darth Maul is still so cool.
He is. He really is. And I was actually excited to see him. I think watching this alone, I was a little bit like, a little cynical with it. But then I didn't watching it with you, but also just watching it in a group. It's like, okay, I can see where there's actual like fan excitement or group excitement. I do stand by the fact that fight. Well, no, I think the fight is well done. I think that the soundtrack, the Duel of the Fates score beats it out of the park. Like it's definitely one of the best scores for that, and I think that's what makes that scene great. It was interesting thinking about that fight because one of the biggest complaints people have in it, and I had to, and we joked about it, was that Obi-Wan, when Qui-Gon is fighting Darth Maul and then they get into that laser wall thing, Obi-Wan doesn't use his Force run, even though we saw the Force run. And then thinking about it, it's like, well, look at the area that there is. It's a tight room. There's a giant donut, like a giant center hole there. And if you Force runs, we don't necessarily know how well controlled it can be.
Does he have Force breaks?
Yeah, does he have Force breaks? And if he doesn't, he's going to go immediately into a position where he's vulnerable into getting cut by a double lightsaber. I know I might be putting an excuse onto it, but I didn't walk away with this feeling of like, oh, it's so stupid. Why didn't you do it? I was like, well, maybe that's a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, it's like, I don't know, you're looking at this one, and we were talking about how, like, you know, Obi-Wan didn't really have much in this movie, and it's like, you look at episode 2 and 3, he's huge parts of the movie. And this movie, it's the only Star Wars movie where he's not Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Jedi Knight. He's still the apprentice. He's still learning. Yeah. And so he's doing a lot of things that are questionable. And so I think, at least I'm hoping that it was a choice to make him do almost these faults to show that he's still learning.
Yeah, but I just wish that he was involved in the actual, like as you said, he was like kind of observing. I just wish he was actually in the areas where he needed to observe. Mm-hmm. Like, I can understand him joining Qui-Gon, seeing him negotiate with Watto. I can see him, going to...
Yeah, but we had to make room for that awesome Jar Jar dialogue.
No, I know we do. I know we do. And I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry I got rid of the awesome Jar Jar dialogue. But just imagine the concept of seeing Qui-Gon. Like, he says, why do I feel like we're walking away with another, like, pointless life form? Or whatever the word was.
Pathetic life form.
Pathetic life form.
Yeah.
What if... Because Obi-Wan kind of just seems like, I'm a Jedi and I'm the only person that matters. We wield power. That's it. I'm just thinking also towards Attack of the Clones for a second. But imagine he actually sees Qui-Gon interact with Watto.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine he sees that and how he actually negotiates and he's able to communicate and find ways to, I don't know, make other characters happy and he can get things from people even if they disagree with him or whatever. And then he goes into episode 2 and you see Obi-Wan have Dex. Hello, Dex, like this random alien, and he gives him a hug. To me, that's kind of like an understanding of like Obi-Wan could see Qui-Gon interacting with other creatures that are not Jedi
mm-hmm.
and building relationships with them and allowing yourself to be like, I can reach out to other people that aren't me.
Well, yeah,
but he doesn't see that, so I can't pull that information. So now that's another thing that's just like a random occurrence. It's like there's a lot of things in here that in terms of the lore of the Jedi and in terms of everything that we must assume based on, whatever has been created, we assume that these are right, but we don't know that because this film doesn't support anything really. And
it's very contradicting.
It is, and it's a shame though because we're being introduced to a new story, an essential story, but we're just not.
It didn't meet the ends that it was supposed to. I'm a firm believer that anything that had Jake Lloyd, the actor who played Anakin Skywalker, anytime there was something about him, make it about Darth Maul or a backstory of Qui-Gon Jinn, I think you would have had a great time.
You kept saying that because like I didn't ask you about it. What do you mean in terms of make it about Darth Maul? Like, what is the thing?
He's so cool,
right?
Like, Go dive into him like with more of him with Senator Palpatine and showing him, because he keeps referring to Darth Maul as his apprentice.
Oh.
So show that.
Oh, I see.
You have two small parts of that. Man, you look at the original trilogy, how much back and forth did you have between the dark side and the good guys?
Yes.
There's so much pointless child acting in this movie.
Yes. No, and
dive into the Sith.
And I understand what you're saying now, like in terms of like make it about Maul, not like, integrate him into, Anakin's story. But cuz that could also be a really cool setup to this world. I know that what I realize is like nothing that happens in this movie is consequential to the next two films at all, which is what really bothers me. Nothing here matters in any respect except that we see Anakin fly stuff.
Hey man, you see tiny Anakin meet his lady lover.
We're not talking about that now. Anyway.
Oh, that age difference, man.
But
she's a queen and he's a 9-year-old slave.
No. But no, you could have that cool showing different systems of Jedi with Qui-Gon and the Sith and how they're trying to prepare for Darth Maul or whatever they're preparing for or something.
Episode 2 and 3, obviously, it's all about the downfall of Anakin Skywalker. And yes, introduce him.
But also the downfall of the Jedi Order.
Mm-hmm. And the rise of the Sith. Mm-hmm. And it's like, man, if you could see the Emperor pre-Vader and like how he was dealing with Maul and everything, you can see into that side of it. I think that would have been sick. That would have been way more interesting. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, I want more lightsabers, less pod races.
Yeah. No, that's very true. Like, because all it is just to try to get Anakin out of slavery. And look, there's a lot in this movie to talk about and to break down and just tear apart because I've seen a lot of people do it. But I honestly feel like it's just simple. It's this simple. The film needed to be rewritten. Mm-hmm. It makes no sense why Anakin, knowing who he is or who he becomes, it makes no sense why he's on Tatooine. Pod races could exist on a different world in a different context. It doesn't just have to happen on Tatooine. Sure, we get the Tusken Raiders and show some cool world building stuff, but it doesn't matter because
it doesn't add substance to the story.
No, it doesn't. And then it's like, well, why didn't if Anakin lived on Tatooine, why didn't he check out Tatooine? Why didn't he follow his emotions and feelings as a Jedi would? Like, what, did he turn so far to the Sith he closed himself from his emotions? And he couldn't just be like, where is where is Obi-Wan? Or where are people? Where could we find some people? Oh, maybe we go back
Definitely
to my home.
Definitely not Tatooine.
Definitely not my home.
No, not there.
They're not going to go there because it's so remote and nobody goes there except scums.
No, but he can't go there. He hates sand.
Oh, of course. Anyway, but it's very much like they just need to rewrite it. And I think that, rewrite Anakin to be a young adult or like a teenager and not a child. Because that changes the age disparity and it makes it, I don't know,
a lot less creepy.
Better, but it does give him a personality. It can give him passion. And you can have, you can have the queen, rather than just be so like regal or something, make her a literal, like a child queen who's confused. Maybe have her like have a mother who just died or something.
But instead, you go from this queen who is willing to cross the universe, go wander around Tatooine, bring pathetic life forms with them. She's going to like lead a war and all that. And then you get her character in 2 and 3. What happens?
Oh, here's something I just thought about. Like I was just mentioning it. What if there was an actual queen? Like it was Padme's mom. Padme's mom decided to go broker a deal with the Trade Federation. Imagine this. This is the opening. The Jedi go to meet the Queen and the Trade Federation. They're going to have a discussion. The Queen goes onto that ship. The minute that their ship lands, the Jedi are waiting for this. And all of a sudden, the ship lands and then they destroy it.
Because they destroy the shit that went anyway.
Yeah, and the Queen is killed.
Yep.
And then the Jedi, like, yes, it's going to be less snarky and you're going to have a lot of comedy with it. But you immediately set up a personal struggle. And now they need to go save the princess. And they need to go get her out of there, take her, and then it makes everything
They wasted logical. The first hour and 18 minutes of this movie anyway. It would have taken nothing to rewrite it to do something like that.
Like, I just thought about that. How much more personal and already investing you get. And then Darth Maul is an assassin sent to kill the princess. Then you also have that situation where it's like all those palace guards in that one climax are not, trying to go get the Viceroy, but they're converging on the princess. So now it's all about the heroes actually have to protect somebody as opposed to, plan an assault with the Gungans. Yeah, you can have maybe the Gungans like still doing the distracting thing, whatever. Get your blue screen.
I would have wrote the Gungans out.
Well, get your blue screen thing. We gotta show the technology works. Remember, it's 1999 in this scenario.
Right.
but good story writing still existed.
100%. It's no, like I was saying earlier when we were watching the movie, I don't think any of the main actors, like the Liam Neesons, the Sam Jacksons, I don't think they even read the script. Like at the point, Natalie Portman, yeah, she'd been around for quite a while. She was a child actress to start with. But I think all these people who's got the offer, like, hey, we're making a new Star Wars. Do you want to roll? And just, yes. Yeah. Without reading the script, just, yes, I want to be in Star Wars. It's the most, it's the greatest franchise that's ever been done.
And it's coming back.
I obviously want to be in the first Star Wars movie in, 18 years or whatever it was? Yeah. I don't think anybody read the script. I think if Liam Neeson would have read it, he'd be like, no.
I was in Schindler's List, guys. I've read much better stuff than this.
I can't do this.
But again,
but wait, a boy is taken?
And I take him? Oh my god. This is amazing. But that's, again, like, you don't, and I don't know, maybe you didn't have to involve Anakin in this story, because it doesn't have to be about him. It's like, that's something cool. It didn't have to be as long. If you focus on the concept of just, like, a personal political battle, that
could have introduced Anakin, and it could have been, like, a 3-minute scene of, oh, I am Anakin, I'm here to live on Tatooine. Oh, here's your parts. Yeah, take off, it's all good.
And Jesus, I'm just thinking about this now. It's like, imagine then they take her to Tatooine just to, like, get away from communications and stuff, but you have, like, Darth Maul, like, all this stuff, whatever, you figure it out. And then she goes back, and there's a princess, and then the Chancellor is still trying to press her hard about, like, this is what happened. These are the bureaucrats. They commanded this. They're ignoring that your mother was killed. This is what occurred, and then they're shutting this down. And then the princess, out of emotion and fear, puts Chancellor Palpatine... Well, Senator Palpatine as the Chancellor. Mm-hmm. Because it's out of fear. And that makes it much more logical than a bodyguard saying, yes, I'm going to get the power, and I'm going to show the Queen that I have power too, and I can do whatever I want, because I am not just her bodyguard, I'm also royalty.
Well, it could have been, man.
It's just, but it's like, it's weird how this is, like, not taking long. And I know I'm creating something off of what already exists, so I'm not saying I'm going to write a remake of this film, whatever.
No, but it's I feel like a couple spitballs around the draft room would have been great. Yeah. Most of the acting in this movie, man, I feel like they were just doing a round table read of the script.
Yes.
There was no substance to it. There was no emotion to it.
That scene with Anakin and Qui-Gon and Padme.
Oh, yeah, where they're in the kitchen.
Literally said it was a round table. And it did. It felt like
I can't stand it. Can't handle it. How did I love this movie when I was a kid? God, kids are dumb.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I know people like, and I always say this: if you like the film, whatever. But it's also like, don't try to make me feel like it's also a great film, because it's not.
It's not a great film.
No, it's not. It could have been better. I don't know if the base that you have here could have been a great film.
No,
but you could have had a solid foundation for what could come, and that's fine.
Totally. No, it's like I am a huge Star Wars fan, and it was a terrible film. I am a huge fan of film. Mm. It was a terrible film.
Yeah.
Like, coming from both stances, it was a fail.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean,
Darth Maul's so cool.
And I stand by, and if I can be very quick in terms of the things that I think are good, there are two moments. There's the fight, the Duel of the Fates fight is a genuinely good scene. I will give it that. It is good. It's just cut with all the other nonsense.
All the Gungan crap.
It's unfortunate that it is cut in between, because when that happens, I'm excited, I'm interested. I also wish Obi-Wan didn't kill Darth Maul, air quotes. But yeah, I just wish that didn't happen. Because he needs a foil. He needs somebody to motivate him if he kills his master. But anyway, you should watch What If Episode 1 Were Good. Like, that's a belated media thing. I'll post that in the thing. Because it's like, share it. Because that's something I watched and it's like cool. I don't think it's like the answer to how to make it good, but it's got some interesting comments. But the other good thing I think that's in this movie is there's one scene with Anakin and his mom. And yeah, Jake Lloyd doesn't have a great performance in this film, but none of the kids do.
No.
None of the kids have a good performance in this. Shmi doesn't have really a lot of great performance, but I do think she has good chemistry with Liam Neeson. Like, when they're talking to each other, I'm like, hey, yeah, they're actually talking. But when Anakin is actually saying goodbye to his mom, it's genuinely sad.
Oh, it's emotional. It's the only thing I believe from him in this whole movie.
Yes. And that proves to me that I think that I know I'm probably going to get a lot of crap for this, but I don't think that Jake Lloyd was awful in this film. And I think he got so much attack and just so much things berated at him. And it wasn't fair because I think the blame should be on Lucas.
100%. Jake Lloyd as a child was, obviously he doesn't have the life experience or the acting experience to take a bad character that's given to him and give him more life. He's a child. He's going to do what you give him. And he was given a bad character.
Yeah, it was. And it's like, and he wasn't told any way that what you're saying is either too harsh or your tone doesn't make sense. You're coming off too passive aggressive. He wasn't told that. And some people will say, but there have been good child performances. It's like, yeah. And
that wasn't one of them.
Yeah. And it's like, with good child performances, yes, a kid can be naturally emotional and open. Like for E.T., that's a big staple where people are like, that kid was a good actor. He also had Steven Spielberg in a very big prime point of his life as a director.
Oh, and knew how to direct emotion. His prime.
Yes.
And it's like, this is going to be a bit of a stretch, but like Jake Lloyd was also, he played the child in the original Jingle All the Way.
Okay.
Yeah, and so like, it's the Arnold Schwarzenegger Christmas movie. You look at that and it's like he was, obviously again, he's playing a kid. It was released around the same time, but he has a believable performance.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's like it's taking two very similar timed movies, the same child actor. He's unable to produce anything for this in comparison.
Yeah, it bothers me. I think that some people will either don't acknowledge it or they're not open to it. And I'm open if somebody wants to talk to me of like what it is that it actually is a good thing in it. It'd be hard, but I could listen to it. But the idea that people would just like say, well, you're wrong and this movie's actually one of the best films in the entire trilogy, I can't even stand that. It's just objectively not true. It's not even the best film of this trilogy.
No, not even close.
No.
It's again, there are points that I really like. And again, two of my favorite characters in Star Wars are in this movie. It's just, unfortunately, they're in a bad movie.
How many times do you think we could just sit here just in frustration about pod racing?
Well, the movie was just under 2.5 hours, and I was pretty mad since the pod race, so I can go on for probably almost 2 hours about every pod racing.
Yeah, I just, like, it's just... audio hypnotism, and I hate it. But, I don't know, there's just a part of me that's just kind of like, you know what? It's bad, and I'm not gonna... people have harangued this movie forever. I think I'd much rather go maybe more in depth on the other ones, because I think that there's more good in those things mixed in with bad, so we can kind of sift through and see what path.
It's things that actually add substance to the storyline of the whole franchise.
There's actually, you know what? This is one thing I will say as my last thing. There's a documentary that came off on I think it was like the DVD special edition on this film. And there was a screening of this where George Lucas and everybody was watching the film, and he was like, kind of like, oh, I think I may have gone too far in some places and everything. And the one complicated thing that they realized was everything bleeds over into everything else. That's the one thing I do think is true. George Lucas does know how to construct a story. He knows how to construct elements because it bleeds over. Like, it makes sense that they have to land on Tatooine where there are parts, and scrap metal where they would have to go there because it's also isolated.
Controlled by the Hutts.
Exactly. But it makes sense why they logically have to go from place A and point A to point B, C, and all the connected dots. But the image you get from it is so messy and unappealing to look at that you're just connecting something that's just uninteresting and unfun to do. And I think that's all I can really say about it.
Well, I'm personally more excited to move on to the next ones. It's going to be a bit of a doozy. We got 2 more long movies ahead of us.
The next one, I was shocked. The next one is like 12 minutes longer.
Oh, good.
I thought when people were like talking about
without pod racing.
Oh, but it's with a lot more creepy stuff. Jeez Louise, I can't tell you. Oh,
I hate sand.
Oh my god.
We'll save those jokes for next time.
Please. Thank you guys for listening to us talk about Phantom Menace. As always, please, if you're in the Edmonton area, support Brian at Bucha. They have a beautiful at their headquarters now. They have set up a beautiful. Can I mention?
Of course.
They have a beautiful mural set up right at their headquarters. It's amazing. Please go and support them. And Brian, thank you so much for inviting me to your home.
That was a good time.
This, and thanks for letting me keep your cat on my lap. And letting them, I think, sleep. Yeah, they're sleeping. And you guys, everybody, thank you so much. And as always, take care. He's waving bye.